Where, oh, where have the experts gone? Oh, where could they be? Because these couples need help. Send help, please. Stat. Y'all, this is Plez. Welcome back to Scared of Beautiful. If you are new here, please take the time to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video and give me your comments and thoughts on this week's episode. So today we will be covering Married at First Sight, Season 12, Episode 12. And the episode is entitled Must Love Dogs. I'll preface this by saying I do not have a dog. I like dogs, but I don't know if I like them the way that some of these dog owners like dogs. It was a very interesting, and honestly, since I'm not really an avid dog lover, I don't know if we really needed to go into the depths of dog ownership the way they did in this episode. A lot of it felt like filler, but anyway, let's get into it. First, we see Vincent and Briana. They're laying in the bed per usual, talking about their boat ride that they went on for the 1-month anniversary. And Briana says that her favorite part was watching their wedding back. Vincent says that she needs to repay him for planning such a great date. And then he runs off this whole list of things he wants to do. ATV riding, the zoo, the botanical gardens, trips that he wants to take. And she's like, oh, honey, I need a new budget. I need another salary. He calls her his sugar mama and says that the only place he's going to take her, though, is home. He doesn't have any plans to take her anywhere nice or plan her anything. I like their just silly and playful nature with each other. They're really growing well, in my opinion, getting to know each other, and they're learning not to take things so seriously. So I'm happy to see that with them. Erik and Virginia. Y'all, they were problematic this episode. You know, I'm starting to see a lot of red flags and caution tape. So they wake up and Erik wants to discuss their dogs. Erik talks about how well trained his dog, Tex, is in comparison to Virginia's dog, Rocky. They kind of laugh it off initially and say, you know, yeah, our dogs match our personalities. And that their dogs are just like them. Virginia jokes and says, look, we already have 3 kids with our dogs. We don't need any more. And of course, Erik, you know, it just seems like he's not able to joke. He's always super serious. And Virginia is a naturally silly and playful person. Now, part of that is maturity level. And again, I really don't know sometimes why the experts matched them. It was clear that Erik was older and more established. Honestly, he's very stringent in his routines. He's getting to be very overbearing. And that's what I don't like. He seems to have no room to bend or compromise, and that's not going to make for a good marriage. So he does not like when she jokes about not needing kids because they have dogs, because as he's already said, he wants kids. Holding out too long for kids or not having kids is not an option for him. Those are his deal breakers. He continues to go on and on about Virginia and the lack of discipline that her dog Rocky has. He runs away when he's off leash. He bites people. He jumps up on people when he sees them. And Virginia's just like, he's a dog. He's playful. It's okay. She tries to, nervously laugh it off, but you can tell she's super uncomfortable. The dog pretty much is her baby. She doesn't like when he's being talked about or criticized. She shows like she's getting visibly agitated and upset. And then she just tells Erik, he's not your dog. You don't really have to worry about how he acts and what he does because he's not your dog. And of course, Erik doesn't like that because they're married now. And he says, he's half mine now. And whether you like it or not, he's half mine. And if you don't like it, we could end this now. Virginia storms out of the room, says that she's done with the conversation. She leaves the apartment in tears and goes out to the parking garage where production is talking to her and meeting with her. And she reveals to producers that they're not in a good place. They had a really bad fight the night before, at the bar and after the bar. Of course. Yeah. She says that she got Rocky when she was at a very low point in her life, and Erik knows this. She has been vulnerable with Erik and shared how much Rocky means to her. So she doesn't like that he consistently criticizes Rocky, and this makes her want to run. It makes her want to leave because she just can't handle his intensity and the pressure that he's showing regarding her dog. I think both things can be true. I think the dog may need a little training. He definitely shouldn't be biting people. But Erik really has to stop this ultimatum stuff. Virginia lacks maturity and needs to grow. But Erik really has to stop, trying to put her in a corner and then basically saying, if you don't do what I say, this is over, or we can stop now, or it can be done. At this point, like, I was trying to give Erik the benefit of the doubt, but at this point, I feel like he's really being manipulative. They've had conversations, even that we've seen on the show. She's expressed her issues with her parents' divorce, that she has anxiety, she has abandonment issues, and honestly, at this point, Erik is playing on those issues to try to get his way. He knows she doesn't want to be left. And so anytime she's not acquiescing to whatever he wants, he's just like, we can stop. I can leave. This can be over. And all that does is causes her to tailspin even more. It's emotional manipulation and it's mental abuse, honestly. He has to get better at communication. He has to get better at compromise. And honestly, it shows his lack of maturity that this is his default. And honestly, I feel if they go past decision day, this will be a recurring theme throughout their marriage unless they get marital counseling and individual counseling to learn how to communicate and have disagreements without throwing out divorce or separation or, withholding themselves as the answer or the cure for everything. It's not cool. It's not fair. Erik really has to work on that. Next, we see Clara and Ryan, at their tantric yoga class. They had a tantric yoga class in-house. And tantric yoga is just a form of yoga that focuses on a couple, two partners, really learning how to be physically in tune and spiritually in tune with each other by the use of different yoga positions and ways to bring the bodies together and really be intimate with each other. It's not really sexual, although it can, heighten sex. But it's meant to be more of an actual communal thing that bonds the couple on a higher level. If the couple is open to it. So, yeah, we're going to see how this goes. Clara says she wants to get some good energy out of the class. I know, Clara. I know the energy you're looking for. It's called BDE. And if y'all don't know what BDE is, then just head on over to Urban Dictionary or somewhere, and the internet will let you know what BDE is. They start with the yab yum pose, which is sort of like a yin and yang pose, but with humans and in a sitting mode. So Ryan breaks the mood. They are intertwined. Their heads are pressed together. Eyes are closed. They're supposed to be trying to synchronize their breathing. And Ryan breaks the mood and says his legs are falling asleep. He has to move. He has to readjust. Next, they do the tantric boat pose where their legs are kind of sitting on top of each other. Clara's legs are on top of his, wrapped around his back. And they're, like two boats sitting on a dock. And again, Ryan breaks it. Ryan says he feels like he's doing all of the heavy lifting. Whew. That's harsh. Like, his abs are on fire. And, Clara's not a big girl. So, I don't know if it's just he's been off his fitness game for a while, because when he was introduced to us, he was all about fitness. So, I was so uncomfortable for Clara. He wasn't into it at all. The next pose, she has to kind of do almost a split of sorts, put one leg up by his ear where her nether regions are then sitting across his chest area. And Ryan just isn't impressed. He says that he doesn't believe the class has helped to further their communication or their connection. It was what it was, but it didn't do anything for him. Clara feels like she came in open to the class, but she also doesn't feel like that this class furthered their connection, and she is frustrated. She feels like she's the only one trying. And I really hate that for her. I will say that I felt like she was the only one trying in this class. Ryan was giggly. Ryan was joking. He didn't seem committed to the actual work of, even allowing himself to be intimate. Not sexual, but intimate with Clara in that moment. So we got to keep trying to see what works to get Clara what she needs. Virginia and Erik come back. Virginia comes back from walking Rocky. She makes this little snide comment saying, we just got back from a wonderful leashless walk. She had Rocky off leash and he did not run away from her. They start talking about the fight again from last night, and production starts showing us flashbacks of the fight. in them in their kitchen. It's clear from the footage that they both were drunk. And we've all said it. Anybody who watches this show at this point, we think Virginia has a definite problem with liquor. And your spouse is always supposed to elevate you, right? Iron sharpens iron. Unfortunately, with this drinking, I think Virginia may be bringing Erik down because Erik isn't traditionally a drinker. But I think he's trying to relate to her and trying to keep up with her. So he goes out because she wants to go to the bar. And then he starts drinking. And when he starts drinking, his trust issues, his controlling nature, his paranoia just takes over. And then they end up fighting. So apparently, Virginia vanished, in Erik's words, at the bar. He was not able to put eyes on her for, in his estimate, 30 or 40 minutes. Virginia's like, no, I went to the bathroom and then I was back at the bar. So we don't know actually who's right. You know, did she go to the bathroom to throw up for 30 minutes? Because we saw her do that on the bachelorette party. She had to run off because she had drunk too much. Or was she truly just missing in action? Or was it more like 5 or 10 minutes, a normal bathroom break, but because Erik was drunk, he's over-exaggerating? The world may never know. Erik says, again, I'm concerned about your well-being. You being missing for 30 or 40 minutes, that makes me worry about you. Virginia lets him know, cool, that might be what you think, but to me, it comes off as controlling and overbearing. She doesn't think he's trying to protect her. She thinks he's trying to control her. And honestly, you can feel that way, especially when you're not used to someone stepping in. That's really part of this issue. I don't think Virginia was ready to be married at all. She is still very young. She still wants her independence. And within a marriage, you do kind of have to give up some of that. You can't move and operate as you would as a single woman, going back to passing out on your guy friend's couch at the end of a long night of drinking. That's not cool for a married woman at all. Like, most husbands would raise their eyebrow to that, and that wouldn't be a controlling thing. That's just a genuine respect type of thing. Virginia says that Erik is a different person when he's drunk, and I believe it. You know, he already has these tendencies, and I think the drinking sends him further into that downward spiral. He starts thinking about his past. He starts thinking about everything that he's been through, and the urge of, this is mine, I need to know where you are at all times, starts to really kick in. Erik says he doesn't care what she thinks and that he'll just leave her alone. So again, you're dismissing her feelings. You're dismissing everything that she had to say about her feeling controlled and not protected. And then you hit her with, we'll just leave this alone. I'll leave you alone. When you say you'll leave her alone, it again feels like abandonment and rejection. Instead of saying, let's end this conversation, this isn't a good time for us to have it. You're not only throwing away the conversation, you're throwing her away. Not a good look. He then, of course, starts to lecture her about understanding that she's now married. But then again, he doubles back with these ultimatums. If she doesn't like it, she can get out. Like, stop. That can't be the answer for every argument. If you don't like my political views, get out. If you don't want to move into my house, get out. If you don't want to, stop going missing at the bar, get out. You can't go to the bathroom, get out. You going to your friend's wedding, call me every hour or two, or get out. Like, it's too much. He again says that he's done because she's defensive and she has her walls up. Virginia is just like quiet in seemingly a daze. She is just listening, taking it in. Erik kind of sees the look on her face and says, look, I'm sorry. I've just been hurt. I'm always getting hurt. And at that point, Virginia has a complete spiral. Like, she has a complete panic attack on screen. She talks about her anxiety and how overwhelmed she feels right now in this moment. Erik keeps flipping things on her. He's the one attacking her, going at her, and then turns around and says, well, I'm hurt. I'm just scared of being hurt. She wants to run. She wants to leave. And she doesn't like how she feels that she's the only person that's giving up something. She will have to give up her home and move in with him. She already has to acquiesce to his pilot schedule. And her job, everything that's going on right with her right now. And then the dog. He's criticizing her dog constantly. Erik tries to comfort her. Too little, too late. She pulls away. And she just feels like she's failing at life. Erik again tries to talk to her about change being something that comes with marriage. But that if she doesn't like it, and she stops him and says, if you say that again, if you say you will leave again, I will punch you in the face. Yeesh. It's getting ugly. Like, we should not be threatening physical violence on either side. Erik thinks about it and rewords it and says, well, if you don't like what comes with marriage, you are free to do what you want with your life. Which is a better way of saying it, but sir, it's still an ultimatum. And yes, she is free to do what she wants with her life, but you have to give some grace as well. It's only been 1 month. And it is a lot of change at one point to happen all at once. But this is where I really do blame the experts, because it's clear that Virginia was not ready. They need to be asking questions about someone's mental health, their anxiety, if they're in therapy. Have they ever been to therapy? With her level of childhood trauma from her parents' divorce, she needed to be in therapy. Because if not, she's going to do what she's doing now. She still has unresolved trauma, unresolved abandonment issues, high anxiety. She needs to see a therapist at this point in time, and that should be the priority of production. They should have a therapist on staff. But it's not just her. Erik has unresolved issues and relationship baggage that he's bringing in and putting on Virginia. It's not fair that every time she goes somewhere, he thinks she's going to cheat. That's a hard life to live. So, I can understand Virginia being overwhelmed at everything that he's asking of her. It's a lot. Next, we see Haley and Jacob. They relive talking about their fight at the month-anniversary dinner. Jacob did apologize, but he felt that there were some things that needed to be said, and it needed to get, come out, get off of his chest. I agree. Haley and Jacob say that they are both emotionally drained from the first month of their marriage. Haley doesn't mind conflict, but she doesn't like how it escalates. She doesn't like how Jacob goes 0 to 100. She wants them to be able to move forward and have nice, relaxed conversations and interactions. Jacob says he's open to a reset. So this is the second couple that's doing this reset, y'all. Chris and Paige, we know how that turned out. And now Jacob and Haley. But I feel like this is their second or third reset. It's not working. Someone's not trying hard enough. I'm looking at you, Haley. But Jacob also needs to stop going down the spirals that he goes down as well. They are both still showing up. So I guess we can give them an E for effort, and that they'll be positive and see how it goes. We will be along for the ride, unfortunately. Paige meets with her brother and her sister-in-law to catch them up on everything that's happening or has transpired so far with her and Chris. And I'm happy to finally see this girl's family. We've been wondering where they are, where they have been this whole time. She talks about Chris wanting a divorce and wanting to reconcile with Mercedes. She says that Chris never stepped outside of himself. He never just checked in on her, left her a note, or texted her to see how she was doing. Because he don't care, sis. He don't like you. He don't want you. He was just doing whatever he had to do, the motions he had to go through for the show. The sooner you accept that, the better off you'll be. She says she felt devalued as a woman and that her time was wasted. But she has reflected and feels that there were times she could have left sooner. She felt like she lost herself by being infatuated with the thought of being married and what that would be like. Yes. I'm here for it. I am happy. Paige is making some progress, and self-reflection is always good. You know, it's always good to try to figure out, what did I do wrong in this situation? We know Chris is trash, but Paige prolonged it, you know, and caused unnecessary damage to herself. Her brother says that, look, you gave it the old college try. You shot your shot. Now move on, embrace the struggle, and you'll see later on in life why you went through what you went through. God will bless you with better, and you will understand the lessons you had to learn at this phase in your life. Paige says she still doesn't understand why her. And that's a natural feeling. But she has a newfound sense of purpose and love for herself and knows now what self-love should look like. Yes. Thank you. And don't stop here. Keep going. Keep working on it. You know, there's a reason, purpose for everything that we go through in life. And sometimes we do have to find purpose in pain. Her brother was absolutely right. You know, we go through things in life, and you have to do the self-work of, what is this teaching me? What should I be trying to learn from this? And honestly, I feel like there are lots of lessons that she can learn from her interaction with Chris, particularly if she wants to date in the future. These are painful lessons to have to relearn over and over again. And unfortunately, that's how life teaches us. If you don't get the lesson, you have to repeat the course. No one wants to see that, Paige. Paige says you have to honor yourself or no one else will. And that her biggest lesson she gained from Chris is that she needs to choose herself. Yes, sis. Keep it up. Clara and Ryan are talking in their bedroom. Clara has to leave. Ryan wants to do a training session with her dog, Misha, to figure out how to be a better dog dad. Clara, is thankful that he wants to do this, but she says it's funny how he wants to learn how to navigate her dog, but not her. But He says that the yoga session was okay. He didn't feel any new connections. She tries to, bring up positive things about the yoga class. And so she said, the conscious breathing session was really good. Learning how to breathe in sync with each other. I thought that was good exercise. Ryan literally laughs in her face. I don't know what to say about Ryan, honestly. I think Clara puts too much emphasis on sex, but Ryan, no, he's he's making steps and strides to, do the things she likes and build the relationship otherwise. But I just don't know why he would literally laugh in her face with something that she set up that you can clearly see was important to her. It was a cringeworthy moment. He says Clara is only focused on one thing, sex, and that he's trying to get to know her on a deeper level. Again, understandable. He says he usually only focuses on himself during yoga. And she tells him, well, try something new. And honestly, Ryan at this point is coming off a bit selfish. Like, yes, you focus on yourself when you're in a single yoga class because that's the whole point. You're supposed to be coming in tune with yourself, meditating, relaxing your muscles, lengthening your muscles, really getting in tune with your body. But it was a couples yoga class, a couples tantric yoga class, which meant you were also supposed to focus on becoming in tune with your partner. You got to do better, Ryan. You got to stretch out a little more. Clara does focus on sex. However, this class was a lesson in intimacy, not sex. And intimacy does create deeper connections. So if you had opened yourself up to that, you would have reached the goal of building your foundation on a deeper level. Next, we see this segment about all of the husbands being dog dads that I felt was honestly a throwaway segment. Most of them are doing okay. Jacob has 3 dogs. One of his dogs always wants to attack Haley's dog. Erik, of course, has his issues with Rocky and his lack of discipline and training. Chris continues to be the F-boy that he is, the jackhole that he is, and laughs and says that he doesn't give an F about Bentley. I don't even know why production keeps talking to him at this point. We already know that it's futile and honestly an insult to the viewers at this point. Y'all are playing in our faces, and Chrissy is too. Haley and Jacob go on a date, race, and go-karts. She talks about how competitive she is. She wins the race, gloats in his face. This is honestly the most fun we've seen Haley have. That she won and can lord something over him. She says she had to win because they race cars regularly in her family. And if she didn't, this would make her the laughing stock of the family. Jacob puts on his aviators while they have their conversation. And it's just more dry, boring conversation. I don't understand why he had on those aviator sunglasses indoors while they were eating their lunch and trying to hold a conversation. I guess it was just part of his 80s charm, but no. Like, take them off. Next, we see Chris meeting with his mother and having dinner. He catches his mom up on everything that has happened with him and Paige. And his mom gives him the truth. He tells her that he's getting a divorce from Paige. And his mother is like, oh, Paige is a sweet girl. I really hate this. Chris goes into his BS about her never wanting to talk to him outside of filming. She never answers the phone. And his mother is like, yeah, yeah, I see why. Like, you have a baby on the way with your ex-fiance. I can understand her not answering the phone. Thank you, mama. Chris says if he knew that Mercedes was pregnant or was going to get pregnant before, he would not have done Married at First Sight. He wouldn't have gotten married. Well, his mom reminds him, things happen, but they can be repaired and fixed. And as we all know, Chris isn't open to that. He says that Paige was willing to work it out, but he is not. His mom, for some reason, acts like, oh, what? Wow. Like, ma'am, you know your child. And then he confirms that you know your child because he says if he starts something and then decides he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it. And his mom agrees. That's his pattern. That's how he normally is. He says he can't play house. He's not going to be dishonest. And he's not going to pretend to be upset or sad about his baby because babies are blessings and they're good things. His mother says that she's sad, but ultimately feels like this is the best thing because of the circumstances with the baby coming along. She also holds Chris to the fire and lets him know, like, you knew that this was the chance that you took when you decided to get married at first sight. Honestly, I don't know if his mom is in on this crap that Chris is trying to tell us. I have already told y'all, I don't believe that Mercedes was pregnant ever. I honestly think this is something that Chris cooked up to get out of the marriage since he was unhappy with Paige and her physical looks. And I think that's what his mom meant when she said you knew the chance you took when you decided to get married at first sight. If you are this superficial, don't do this show. Because there's no guarantee that you will be physically attracted to your partner. The whole point is to try to look past physical attraction and get to the core heart of a person, your similarities, your personalities, your other methods that are important and why the experts match people that they feel will be good fits. Now, honestly, I don't feel Chris was a good fit for anyone. Chris is too shallow. He's too self-absorbed. It's one reason why this is now his first failed marriage, but third failed engagement. No one of substance would want Chris. Chris has a lot of self-work to do. Next, we see Briana and Vincent. They go on a bike ride without helmets. That bothered me, but okay. They decide to race, and if she wins, she wants $500. He's like, what? So they finally settle on if she wins, he has to clean the kitchen, wash the dishes for a week. If he wins, she has to do push-ups. They do this to try to get healthy and stay healthy together. He lets her win, and she knows that he let her win. So she agrees to still do the push-ups. She does 5 instead of 15. She then says she wants ice cream after, but she tries to stop herself because she knows that he's really trying to get healthy. He doesn't like the weight he's put on since this process started. So they're trying to work together as a team. She says that this marriage has made her dream come true of making everyday things in life fun. And I really like to see that. They're both really paying attention to each other. He's being gracious and a good sport by letting her win. Unlike Chris, who made sure that he beat Paige at basketball and pool. And unlike Haley. You know, it's one thing to have friendly competition with your spouse, but you shouldn't like try to drag them in the mud. And so I think it was sweet that Vincent let her win. Erik and Virginia talk again in the living room. They say that they're both still figuring it out. Erik doesn't know where he went wrong. And Virginia says that she knows, like, look, I'm anxiety driven. I'm high strung, but mixing lives has been hard on me. They talk about the dogs again. Oh, Lord. They're trying to have a serious conversation. He says, look, I'm trying to show you that I'm here for you. You can rely on me. These are things that we can work on together. But that notion is foreign to Virginia. She's used to being independent. She's not used to having to rely on someone or letting someone else take over. Rocky interrupts, and this bothers Erik again. He's like, this is what I'm talking about. We're trying to have a serious conversation. Rocky interrupts. Of course, Virginia just kind of giggles and it's like, oh, he's just doing what dogs do. Oh, he's biting up the dog bed, trying to bury a bone. Erik starts talking about how undisciplined Rocky is again. And Virginia kind of admits that he does need some dog training, but doesn't like how Erik is trying to act like his dog is perfect. Virginia then gets defensive, and Erik is like, I don't like how you won't let me work with him. He sees this as a bigger picture of her not allowing him to be a father figure with Rocky, and thinks that this doesn't bode well for if they have to have children. How she will act when he wants to discipline the children or teach them something. He thinks that this is something that they should do together as an act to build trust, but Virginia is against it and thinks he's still just trying to control things and that it's not his dog. Erik does not like this distinction and the definition that Virginia is creating between hers versus his. And it sends Virginia into a whole nother panic attack, a whole meltdown on screen, because she doesn't like how Erik keeps pushing this conversation when she's repeatedly told him she doesn't like it. It makes her uncomfortable. She keeps telling him that he's pushing too hard, but he keeps pushing. Virginia says he's no expert. He's only trained one dog and only barely trained that dog. Tex still does things such as jump up on people and sometimes bites that are undisciplined, but for some reason he only wants to focus on Rocky. Erik is then heard off camera telling Virginia that he's done with it again, that she's been a complete butthole to production and everyone involved, and that he's not going to take it. Again, conflict resolution is non-existent. The anxiety kicks in and takes over, and Erik refuses to respond to her cues. She kept trying to deflect the conversation. She kept trying to joke off with Rocky because she doesn't want to talk about it. And he keeps trying to force her in a corner. When you force someone with anxiety issues into a corner, they fight. That's a known fact. That's what they do. They fight and they run. He's not helping. This is where the experts really need to step in because it's just horrible and painful to watch. Next, we see Paige, Virginia, and Briana meet up. They talk about their marriages, what's going on. Paige says she thinks she could have left earlier, knows that she lost herself, and didn't know what marriage all entailed. Briana and Virginia are happy that she's finally gotten to this point. However, she says her and Chris could have been friends. No, you couldn't. You couldn't. He wasn't interested in being your friend. But again, she understands the power and she's going to choose herself. Brianna says she thought she knew what she wanted before she got married, but Vincent is truly what she needed. She loves how sweet he is. Paige is happy for her, and Brianna tells Paige that her next man is coming in the next 6 months to a year, so she better be ready. No, ma'am. Paige needs to be alone, in therapy, working on herself for at least a year. Do not do it, Paige. Don't leave Married at First Sight and get back on the dating market. No. This whole process has been traumatic for you. Based on your reactions in this process, you have a lot of unresolved relationship trauma, self-worth, self-value issues. Do not go out here and get under a new man. Please, sis. Please. I say that in love. Virginia talks about her anxiety and how everything has been spiraling for her. Work is on her nerves. The dog issue with Erik. She doesn't want to live in his condo. She says that anxiety isn't new to her. But she hasn't gotten any help for it. I think she's just been ignoring her issues, and she really does need to get some help for it. She doesn't want to put all of her anxiety issues on Erik, but they keep avoiding their problems, and they do. They have to learn how to have the hard conversations and not react the way that they've been reacting, but that is why the experts need to be here instead of missing in action. Virginia says she needs to start going to therapy and working on her anxiety, so she's going to look into that. Paige agrees about the anxiety issue and says that she has 2 therapists. Where, girl? Where? When you got those? Paige talks about how mental health is so important and it's stigmatized in marginalized communities. And it is. More people need to have therapy, particularly before they get in marriage. Some type of counseling where you can start to uncover some of these issues that honestly may not come to the forefront until you're in a committed relationship. Brianna reveals that she went to therapy right before her marriage because she realized that she internalizes things and she didn't want to do that and constantly blow up on her husband and loved ones. I loved this type of insight from Brianna. I really wish more people would do that. Particularly for her still being in her late 20s. Like, that's young to have that type of self-actualization, and I applaud her for it. I too quit dating because I wanted to focus on me, get rid of some of my relationship baggage and childhood trauma, and it's needed. You do not want to bleed on the people who didn't cut you. It's not fair to, like Jacob and Erik, constantly attack your spouse for everything that they say or do that reminds you of what someone else did or said. It's not cool. It's not cool to have children and pass those traumas on to them. So y'all, do the work. Get some therapy. Find you somebody that you can talk to who is knowledgeable and can give you tools on ways to heal. And honestly, I think this is a reason why Brianna and Vincent are able to work on their issues. They're able to pull back and say, what am I doing wrong? For instance, with the whole Champagne Vinny issue and her being sarcastic all of the time. Instead of her internalizing his reaction, she was able to step back and think about how she could do things differently. Great work. Paige says she wishes that she did that. And so I'm confused. When did you get these 2 therapists, sis? You were talking a few seconds ago like you've had them forever. And now you're saying you didn't do the work before you got married. Either way, you need it. So please continue if you have 2 now. Virginia was happy that they were able to relate to each other. Next, we see Haley and Jacob. They're cooking, having a conversation about how their cooking and their conversations can improve. He says, he jokes that if she wore an apron, it would get better. They then talk about his prior relationships and if he liked fresh Brussels sprouts or frozen Brussels sprouts. She then says, I feel like I've been interrogating you all night, and asks if he has any questions for her. He asks, hey, what's the last concert you've been to? And she said, Pearl Jam. He's like, oh, I've never really been a big fan of them. Like, Jacob, at least that's a band from like the 80s, early 90s. You could have tried to further the conversation. You know, that's something you all could possibly relate on. And at this point, I just think Jacob is super socially awkward. I don't know who they could have paired him with, because it does seem like from the footage we're seeing that Haley is pulling teeth. He just wants to eat his food, I guess cuddle, and be there. It's one thing to have dry humor, but he has no conversation, no skills. It's hard. Like, I don't know what they can do. Next, we see the double date with Briana and Vincent and Jacob and Haley. Haley talks about the argument at their 1 month anniversary, and that she feels like the relationship isn't reciprocal. From what we see, it's not. You know, he doesn't want to engage with her in conversation. She feels like she's constantly interviewing him, and then when she talks, he's not hearing her. He's not actively listening. They show a scene where he changed the subject when she was talking about traveling to them needing to deep clean the apartment. Whew. They switch partners, and then Briana gets to talk to Jacob and get to know him better. Vincent gets to talk to Haley and get her perspective. Briana and Vincent basically end up saying they both need to work on their communication, and that they need to communicate more clearly with each other in order to make this work. You know, like I said, Jacob is clearly socially awkward. He was socially awkward even with Vincent, and Briana. So I don't know what we can do at this point to help him with that. He's almost 40. I think he just might be stuck there. I mean, you know, he can do some therapy with it, but it's going to take active. Maybe him seeing this footage will show him how he comes off. Who knows? Next, we see Virginia and Erik cooking dinner. They admit that they're in a bad space. Virginia, you know, they don't know how to have the hard conversations. Erik says he knows that she's trying, in that he's trying to show her what marriage is like and that he is truly behind her. I just think their age and maturity issues are really at play here. Also, their childhood and past relationship trauma. He's super mature and super rigid. She's still kind of childlike and doesn't know how to deal with conflict when it arises. So, I want them to work because they have this natural chemistry, but these types of issues are big red flags, and until they get some intense marital counseling, I don't know how it can move forward. Next, all of the guys except for Chris meet. Rocky starts barking because they're in Erik and Virginia's apartment. Erik rolls his eyes and talks about his lack of discipline. They all share stories about their dogs. Jacob says that Virginia may be wanting to preserve the dog's personality because too much training takes that away from them. That's a good perspective and something that I didn't think about because I'm not a dog owner. Vincent says Erik may be using the wrong approach. It's how you say things to her. It's how you approach the training conversation. Also, great insight. I agree, Vincent. They all talk about compromise and how they've had to compromise with their wives just on different things, such as the organizational methods in the house. Jacob and Haley with his supplements, Ryan and Clara with his clothing. And it's all been a task getting used to having someone come in and take over their space. Ryan talks about the foundation that he feels that he and Clara are building. And Vincent and Ryan tell the others that, look, communication is the key. And I think Jacob and Erik really needed to hear that. And really needed to hear how compromise has been important in all of the marriages that are going well so far. Ryan and Clara talk about Erik's issues with Rocky. We see them in their living room, and Clara being open and receptive to Ryan's feedback with Mishka. That shows trust on her part, that she's willing to allow him to take over with her dog. But honestly, he kind of has to, because she's gone being the flight attendant. So the dog needs to know how to mind him and respect him when he's in charge. Ryan says that trust is sexy. They reveal that Clara got him a shirt made that says trust is sexy. And he says that when he wears that shirt, she'll know that he's at a different place in their relationship. He needs more time to share experiences with her on a deeper level. Clara says, again, I'm just waiting on him. I am on his time schedule for when he feels like he's ready. Ryan says that trust is earned, but that he thinks they've been getting better with considering each other's needs. Clara doesn't seem to agree. She's just super quiet. And in the next scene, we see that she does not agree at all. She is with the ladies. Later that night, she meets up with all of the other ladies and vents to them about how she just does not understand him talking about trust and this foundation and this pedestal that he puts sex on, because to her, it's just sex. You do it because it feels good and because you enjoy it. That's it. That's all. She's also super frustrated because they do sexual things, everything but actual sex, actual intercourse. She says, I don't get it. We're doing everything. We're doing sex things. I'm getting you off every effing night. And she gets nothing. He needs the emotional connection, and to her, it's just sex. Now, honestly, Clara, I blame you, sis. I blame you. The man has said repeatedly over and over, he needs trust. He needs a connection. He needs a bond. Sex is emotional for him. If you are getting him off by whatever means every night, and he has never returned the favor, that is your fault. Stop. Now, Ryan shouldn't be allowing her, but we don't see behind closed doors. And honestly, from what she shows us on the show, I think Clara is the one initiating this and insisting that they do whatever sexual activity that they do. People can only treat you the way you allow them to treat you. So if he's not giving anything in return, it's because you've taught him that you'll keep doing it without getting anything in return. That's it for this episode, y'all. Let me know what you think. Ryan is a bit selfish. Erik is now coming off super controlling. Do y'all see them making it? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you all next time. Bye.